welcome back to the Leadership Cafe. I'm Sally Mildren, your host. Grab a mug and join us because we are going to be talking about personal branding today with our guest, Alan Shoebridge. He's the Associate Vice President for National Communications at Providence, and it's a national nonprofit Catholic health system. It's in Alaska, California, Montana, New Mexico, Oregon, Texas, Washington, the whole West Coast. And I've lived in almost all those places. Alan leads a diverse multi-state team responsible for internal comm, for PR, issues management, and thought leadership. And he's been a senior marketing leader at Kaiser Permanente, where we also worked together for a short time, and at Salinas Valley Health. He's got 20 years of direct experience in marketing, communication for healthcare and medical insurance organizations. And if you know him or follow him at all, you know he is an expert on personal branding, and he's shared his thoughts, his articles, his insights, his podcasts at conference sessions all over, and on his personal blog, alanshoebridge.com, which we'll link in the show notes. So Alan, thanks for being here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I feel like we get one of the superstars of healthcare personal branding with us today. That's fun.
Well, thank you. You're really kind to say that. I just have lots of opinions and I like to share them, so it helps.
Yeah. A little quick story for our listeners that I had actually applied for a job to work on Alan's team in Montana and Eastern Washington, and he called me to offer the job, and I was like, oh, I gotta say no. My mom had just had a big health situation, and it was a moment in life where a move wasn't in the works. That was a bummer, but we have stayed connected through Shoebridge, which is the marketing arm of the American Hospital Association, and through Kaiser we connected a little bit and have our stories to tell from healthcare.
And when I interviewed you, or when I had to do new interviews because you turned down the job, I had to be in Spokane. I got stuck in a snowstorm.
Yes.
And they couldn't land back in Portland because the airport was iced over. And so I ended up 2 extra days in Spokane with nothing to do.
I know I had to fly in from Seattle in that snowstorm. And
Okay,
I drove
Yeah.
like 30 miles an hour from the airport. It was, I lived in Spokane for a long time. It was a good storm for sure.
It's funny because the worst part was just trying to get back to Portland because they couldn't land any planes. Yes. You know, not the best trip, but it was fun getting to meet you.
Yeah. Before we dive in, tell me about your mug or your cup.
Oh, yeah.
What's in it?
I went to a local coffee shop around here, and I always drink matcha. I like matcha. I like tea. So they have a jasmine matcha latte. That's what I'm drinking.
Yum. That sounds good. I'll have to check it out. Check it out. And mine is, of course, Commonwealth for our new brand, which for all you branding folks and other agency owners, we have torn the Band-Aid off. We renamed, we rebranded in January, which I don't think I really appreciated the complete start from scratch with the algorithms, SEO, everything else. We're in the moment of reintroducing ourselves to the world.
It's a lot of work. I've gone through a couple of rebrandings. It's so much work, but
it is.
It's worth it.
It is for sure. So today we're going to dive in on how to build your own personal brand as a marketer. And of course, we understand the importance of a strong brand for our organizations. And I want to start really simple and then build from there just to get started of who should build a personal brand. And why is it really important for us as professionals to do that?
Everyone should do it. Every single person, unless you're only going to work for yourself and don't need any clients, don't need any partners. If you have any sort of dependency on other people helping you move along in your career, you need to do it. So I think one of the things that people get wrong is they think it's all about the next job. I need to build my brand so I can move to the next thing. But honestly, I tell people start where you work today. Make sure that you have a great personal brand inside your organization because you need to have the best chance for being secure in your role or getting promoted or whatever those things are you want to do internally. People have to know who you are. They have to know what you do. And if you have a good reputation, you need to help build that. So I think that's what I advise people start off. Don't worry about thinking about this in terms of what you're going to do next or 10 years down the road. Think about being successful in your job today. And I find no matter what level you're at, it helps for people to know who you are, what you do, and have a good reputation. So if someone comes to me and says, do you know who Sally is? She's been working here 2 years. I say, I don't know. Yeah, I've seen the name, but I don't know anything about her. I don't know if she's good or bad, right? So you don't want to be in that position. What you want to do is when someone says, hey, do you know Sally? You go, oh, yeah, she's one of our up and coming rock stars. And let's look for ways to help her grow. Again, thinking about starting there and then moving out to build people outside your organization too, because that'll help unlock new things for you in your career growth. But the thing I just would tell people right off the bat, make sure you're just focused internally first, that you're known in your organization, that you're positioned well if you want to grow. Now, there's some people who never want to change jobs or whatever, okay. But I think it's pretty risky not to have a good personal brand where you work as a starting point.
I think that's brilliant advice because we talk to a lot of leaders, and the Leadership Cafe is all about marketing folks who want to grow and be part of community, but you can't also establish your internal ROI if people don't know it. And it matters not just for you, but for your budget, to get a seat at the table, to be involved in decision making on what happens. Otherwise, you become the reactive bow maker in the organization. Here, polish this up, make it pretty for somebody else's brand. And so I love that advice. It's brilliant.
And I think what sometimes people forget too is that you are being discussed in your organization all the time. And you don't even know it. If someone is having a conversation somewhere about, we need someone to step up and lead some work, I need to bring someone else in. Okay, if your name is not being mentioned in those sorts of conversations, your growth is going to be really hard. So I think there's that famous quote, I don't know if it's accurate or not, they've always attributed it to Jeff Bezos, but it's like your brand is what people say when you're not in the room.
Right.
True, and you want it to be positive. And I tell people you kind of have three brand positions, either positive, which is what you want, neutral or unknown, like no one really knows, not positive, not negative. You can grow from there, or you're negative. When your name comes up, it's, oh no, not that person. And so you kind of need to understand where you fall, and if you're in that sort of neutral space, what can I do to get positioned better? And that's where some visibility helps, like really volunteering to lead work. It's funny, like whenever people put out the call for, hey, I need someone to step up and do something, out of 20 people, maybe 2 will raise their hand. Those 2 people are going to be the best positioned for future growth. So thinking about like how do you raise your visibility proactively is super important.
That's so smart. And when you see how hard it is in today's world to find a job, there's so many people who've been laid off, and you see the posts about, I've applied to 4,000 jobs. This is all kind of the runway to some of that as well. Internally, make yourself invaluable, and you have to be known to be invaluable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good. So we know as marketers the 4 P's of marketing, product, price, all the things. You have a framework you share on personal branding around the 4 P's of personal brand. Let's start about how we build a personal brand, and I think that these steps are really helpful to a listener to how do they even get started?
One is just seeing what your purpose really is. What are you trying to do? Where do you want to go? There's no wrong answer, but some people, they don't want to really grow that much. Maybe they're happy with what they're doing and figuring like you can facilitate yourself and stay there. But if you decide your purpose is that you really want to grow into management or get speaking opportunities, whatever it is, thinking about what that purpose is and defining it for yourself, that's a starting point to figure out exactly what you need to do. Now, again, maybe some people's purpose is, I love this organization, I just want to stay where I am, but I need to grow. So what should I do? And others, again, it could be different. It could be, I want to be more recognized outside where I work. I want to serve on boards or serve on committees or join professional organizations. How can I do that and get more visibility? So I think it all starts with defining that purpose. That's the first thing. Figure out what you want to do, and then you can start building a plan around it.
That's great. So for people who are listening and they're wondering, isn't it a little bit of a competition with the brand I'm building for the organization. And where does that brand end and my personal brand begin? What kind of advice do you have to navigate kind of that line or that
Yeah.
thinking of worry about it?
Well, that's a really good question. I think one thing is to understand a little bit about what your organization values. There's some organizations that don't really want their employees to have a visible personal brand. And I think that's short sighted. But figuring out, again, what matters to your company. Now, if you fall into a company where they don't like that, you need to figure out different ways to do it or have ways that aren't maybe as visible. But if you work at an organization that supports that, hey, we like our people to be out there, we like our people to be talking about themselves, their work, we don't put any restrictions on what they do, then you can lean into that more heavily. For me, I feel like probably what I do, and if I'm looking at my social media or LinkedIn, it's probably like 60% personal, maybe 65% personal, and 35% the organization. But I'm always weighing in on what the organization does. So even when I'm doing my own things, when Providence is sharing information or news stories, I'm engaged. I'm liking that stuff. I'm reposting it. I'm commenting. Everyone needs to find their own balance and figure out, again, that purpose, going back to that purpose, but also looking at how your organization reacts to you doing that, and then making sure you're as engaged as possible. So I think it all comes down to really, again, just knowing what you want to do and then making sure there's always a good blend. But I think it leaning toward personal is important because honestly, like if all you ever do is post corporate things, you're not going to feel like much of a human being. And again, what your visibility and what your kind of cadence is. If you're someone who wants to speak out a lot and talk a lot, I think you have to lean into the personal because again, people are going to get bored if all you're ever talking about is, hey, this thing at work happened. People like to connect with other people. They like to know the full size of your personality and what you're doing. So again, everyone has to find their own balance, but just being intentional about it will help.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point because at Commonwealth, we do an art and a science approach. And neurologically, from a neuroscience standpoint, humans literally respond to humans. Their eye contact, your faces, the way you say things. And our brain is basically a giant algorithm where it's trying to conserve energy and it's going to rule out the things that are not important to you. So if you aren't getting to that human element, the authenticity of stuff, then your brain's going to see it and go, let's look for something else. This isn't what you want to see.
Exactly. And people enjoy seeing the human side. So I do some like trainings for LinkedIn. And what I tell people is don't be afraid to share the personal things. Obviously, there's some barriers and restraint you want to do on LinkedIn. People are going to react best if you're out with your team and you went to an event or you did a volunteer activity or something like that. And you post a picture of that, they love that stuff because they like humans. They want to see humans. And that stuff resonates really well. The advice and everything else you do, that's valuable. But that human connection, I think, is key.
Yeah. And it's a constant balance. Do you use AI at all for any of your content? What do you think about that?
Yeah. So for me,
Let's hit a hornet nest here.
yeah. So I don't use it to do any original content for myself. So if I'm writing something, it's for me. And most of that, obviously, I value the authenticity, but I personally just enjoy writing. I've always done a lot of writing. I like it. It's an output for me. It helps me think. So I don't want to outsource that to AI. And also, I know that people getting my content, they like it from me. So again, if it's coming out under my name, if it's a blog post, if it's LinkedIn content, that's authentically me. I do use AI for things like editing. I do write a fair amount of blog posts and articles. And I'll use AI tools for editing and as a thought partner in a way of, will this article resonate with my audience? What are the things they might not find authentic, or where could it be cut down or be more crisp or revise a headline? Yeah, I'll do that thing, that sort of stuff. But I feel good about it because the initial drafts were all my work product. I don't have to worry about any sort of plagiarization or stealing something from anyone else. So I feel really good about it. And I think what we're seeing on platforms like LinkedIn is they're getting good at sniffing out stuff that's just AI generated, and they're not promoting that as much. So that original content to me is really important. AI has its place, and I value the tools. I probably use the tools every day, but I'm just really careful about things that are coming out under my byline, for lack of a better word. That's going to be my content.
It's so funny. Yesterday, I have to share this little funny story. For whatever reason, this week I had a little bit of a imposter syndrome moment. I'm going to Boston next week to present at a conference of healthcare marketers. I own an agency. We have a podcast. We've got an online community of marketers. And I'm like, I have nothing to say. And so I went to Claude and I'm like, okay, here it is. I'm feeling imposter syndrome. Here's who I am. What kinds of things could I write about? And Claude totally called me out. Okay, you own an agency, you have a podcast, you've written a book, you have an online thing, and you have nothing to talk about. You have more to say than probably most people. So I just thought it was so funny. I just laughed because I'm like, okay, Claude gave me a little whap upside the head, but also gave me a few topic ideas that then I could take and write.
It's a good sparring partner of how people used to work with editors in the past, right? But most of us don't have access to that. I really like your comment about the imposter syndrome because I think many people believe that no one suffers from that but them, right? But almost everyone does. At some point, you question. There's been times where I've been invited to do a presentation or something. I'm like the same way. I'm like, why me? And then you think about it and you're like, okay, I do have these great things to offer. But I would just tell everyone, don't worry about that because everyone suffers from that to some degree, unless you're completely narcissistic and don't have like normal behavior patterns. At some point, you're going to be like, I don't know if I should do that. And I think one of the tenets I have about people building their personal brand, especially when they're young, is like saying yes to opportunities that come up that scare you. And you're like, why me? But honestly, like, why not you? And you've got to take a chance. And I think the scarier some of those professional things are, the more they might lead to growth. Don't feel badly that you're having this imposter syndrome. It's a normal thing. But again, especially when you're starting out in your career, like just push past it. Do those things that scare you. And that's going to help lead to a lot of growth for you.
And I think that we overthink
Oh, yes.
what the audience expects. They don't expect perfection. In fact, a lot of people respond better to a glitch or two because A, it shows it's not AI. B, it's authentic and relatable. And I think that part of who we are is drawn to your point, human to human. So that's great.
Yeah.
So I saw in one of your posts about the question that you got posed on LinkedIn about how do you even measure if this kind of activity is worth it? What kind of performance things do you look at, or how do you know if this matters?
Yeah, there's a couple things. And again, I will start internally. So let's go back to how I started, was talking about making sure your internal brand at work is good. And you can measure that by how often you're getting tapped on the shoulder to do stuff, the level of trust people have in you, opportunities to grow. And every organization is a little different. So sometimes opportunities are more constrained. It's harder to move up. And that might not be the best measure. But again, maybe it's I get asked to do interesting work a lot. I get offered stretch assignments. I'm trusted. Whatever those things are that you wanted to accomplish internally, making sure you're hitting those. And then sort of external, if it's things like my goal is to write 3 articles or get invited to do a presentation or get invited to do a podcast, whatever you want to do, set those goals and make sure you're hitting them. And that's how you can measure it. It's not a dollar calculation or something that we're used to doing in marketing, but it's whatever you kind of set up to yourself, making sure you're on the path to get there and do it. And a lot of it's in your hands too. So I'm talking to you today because we know each other, but also because on LinkedIn, you're like, hey, if you'd like to have a conversation, I'm looking for guests. Probably hundreds of people saw that post and probably 5 reached out to you and said, I'd like to be a guest. So
Seriously.
Those are the things that you have within your control. If your goal is to build your network and create content, and you see a post from Sally saying, hey, would you like to chat? Then you have to do something. You have to raise your hand, because you may or may not have ever thought of reaching out to me. Maybe you would have, but it's a lot easier when I raise my hand and say, gosh, Sally, I'd love to be a guest if you'd have me, right? So you can control a lot of those opportunities. You can submit a speaker proposal. You can submit an article for publication. Those are things you have some control over. Now, again, you could have told me not interested, sorry, but it would have only taken me 2 minutes to put myself out there. If it didn't work, that's fine. Move on to the next thing. But again, people need to realize a lot of that growth is in your hands, but you have to be proactive about it.
And I appreciate that call out, because you're exactly right. About 5 people responded, and 4 of them are scheduled to be a guest on our podcast. So that's terrific. So this audience, nonprofit marketers, they're really time strapped. It might feel like personal brand is a luxury that
Yeah.
they'll get to. So let's get really practical. What's one thing that they can do to get started? Or maybe list some ideas of content they could start with.
I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. So having an updated LinkedIn profile, if you're not active on it, becoming active on the platform. And I know people get caught up on content. What kind of content should I post?
Yeah.
But honestly, you can get started by just following other people and commenting and potentially resharing some things, just getting active, just getting comfortable. And then as you build comfort on the platform, posting your own content, promoting what your company is doing, those sort of things. So I think that's such an easy place to start. And I think about the luxury of this, going back to when you and I started our careers, there wasn't something that was really a venue for getting you exposure to a lot of people who can give you opportunities or potentially do content. So I feel like that's the number one place to start. It's very easy, it doesn't take a lot of time. Updating your profile, getting active, and that's a great place to start. I think taking it up to the next notch, it's really making sure you're in some professional associations that have opportunities to provide content. So conferences, webinars, speaking articles, things like that. Join some of those, network with people, and then potentially put out some ideas to do content. If anyone invites you, do it. Because what I found is these opportunities build on each other, right? You and I are talking today, and when you put this video out and this podcast out, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, someone might go, "Oh, I saw you talking to Sally about this concept of brand. Could you come present to our organization, or could you do a webinar?" That stuff happens all the time, but those opportunities won't build on each other if they don't ever get started. So
Right.
yeah, I think starting with LinkedIn and then going to pick a few professional organizations that you can get involved with that have opportunities to build a network and potentially spotlight what you do. Those are two good places to start. And honestly, they're not super time consuming. You can do that in a very limited amount of time.
Right. And for me, I find that lately I've been really inconsistent on my personal page. That consistency is really what builds the visibility. The algorithm, we're writing for humans and the machine.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have to be present enough for it to say, okay, this person's bringing something of value. And so for me, I find if I get an inspiration, I'll sit and write 2 or 3 posts at once and try
Yeah.
to batch content. Then I just have to post it rather than sitting down and going, I gotta get something today. So how do you organize yourself on posting?
So I do keep a kind of a running list. A lot of times an idea will just pop into my head. It might just be in a few words, and I just jot down these few words and I can turn it into a post. So it's funny because for me, and I only have a few things I do really well in life, but one of them is turning an idea into a post. I'll take a picture of something, I'm going to post about this, or I have an idea of how to do something. And so I have this content generating mind. That's how my mind works. That makes it pretty easy. But for other people that don't have that, what I say is just keep an idea, keep a running list of what you want to do, topics you want to do. And also, you can always stay consistent by just being present, commenting on other people's things. You can do strategic reposts, especially if you work for a large organization. I work at Providence, right? I could repost something from Providence every other day if I wanted to. There's plenty of great content. And then people will see it. You will see in your feed, Sally, you'll see Alan just reshared a post from Providence, right? So even that act that only probably takes 30 seconds, it raises visibility. If I drop a comment on one of your posts, that raises visibility. Alan just commented on Sally's post. Someone will see that. So again, it doesn't necessarily take a lot of original content. It just takes a little bit of presence. And that's another tip I give people when I'm training them on LinkedIn is just be active. Just go in. Just go through your feed. Do a few things. 5 to 15 minutes and you're good. You don't always have to be worried about generating original content. That's a big barrier for people.
Yeah, and that's a good point because the algorithm will serve up content from a human probably 2 to 3 times more than just a business page. And so it's also serving your organization as well to reshare that content.
Absolutely. It goes back to that question you asked a while ago about the right blend between your personal content and company. And it should be both. I'm just going to remember something too. Again, going back to the sort of like that comment strategy. So I've left comments on certain posts that have gotten way more visibility than even my original post. So again, just being active in a conversation, see something that interests you. Don't be afraid to add some perspective to it. And that can give you really great visibility.
Sure. And I am not a believer that you have to post 7 times a week. I think that in today's day and age of just deluge of information.
Yeah.
And truthfully, people avoiding social media a little more than ever, I think the way to stand out is making sure what you put out has value and that it's authentic. And if that's as far as you get on it, you will be okay. It doesn't have to be 7 days a week.
No, it doesn't. And I also tell people, like, what's the best content strategy? And I was like, the one you like doing. So the one that you'll actually do. If you're going to show up in written posts because that's what you like doing, great. If you love doing videos, great. But if you don't like doing videos, then setting that as your content strategy is going to be a disaster because you're going to dread doing it. The best strategy you can do is the one you like to do.
That's so good. It's so smart. And it sounds oversimplistic, but that's how you show up with your best energy, your best ideas anyway.
And the most likely to be successful. If we force ourselves to do things we don't like doing, it's the same thing with so many things in life. Losing weight, exercise, work. If you try to force yourself to, I love to ride bikes. I hate to run. If I decided my exercise program was going to be running, I'd be disaster because I don't like doing it. Again, the best strategy for me in exercise is do things I like to do.
I love that. And as I'm listening, I'm thinking, oh, so many times I've took a picture and said, oh, I'm going to do a post on that. I'll write it, post it, delete it. It's so dumb. I overthink the content and worry about it. And it's just about being real and being you and being in front of people with something of value.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Any parting wisdom you want to give about personal brand? And then tell us a little about where people might find you if they want to read or learn more.
Yeah, absolutely. There's two things I think about. One is I just have this overwhelming belief that being known by more people for something good is never bad. The more people who know you for good things is only positive. So again, internally where you work, you want to be known by more people for something good. Externally, you want to be known by more people for something good. That should be the driving force of kind of building a good positive brand where you work and outside. And then also the second thing, I just feel like nobody cares about your career more than you. The best bosses I've had, great people, they want you to be successful, but at the end of the day, you're accountable. You have to make sure you like what you do. You have to make sure you're comfortable with where you're growing. You care about that more than anyone. So think about those two concepts again, expanding your network internally and externally, and really just you're the one in charge. So make sure you're doing what you want to do. And so, yeah, for finding me, we talked about already, obviously LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit. I like it. So love to connect with people there. And also I have a blog, like you mentioned at the top, at just my name, AlanShoebridge.com. So people can find things there too.
And we'll link to both of those. And I think it's just so wise to, the bottom line is you own your own story. And you get to be the driver and the passenger on that storytelling. Otherwise, your story will just form by itself in a vacuum, and that's not a good approach for anything. Not for your brand, not for your human.
I feel sad when I'll see someone say, I was stuck at some role for 15 years and I didn't grow, and there's reasons, but I'm like, at some point, you probably should have said to yourself, I don't like this. It's not meeting my needs. Can I get out and do something different? And the reality is, job change is hard, job market's hard. But I don't think there's any reason that someone has to be trapped in something for 15 years. You might take a year to find something in transition, but to just kind of sit there and be like, it's going to change, the situation's not going to change. So you need to have some kind of direction over what you want to do, set those goals, figure out how to build a career that you want. And we have an active role in that. And I just encourage people to think about it and do as much as they can. Set your goals and take some actions that'll help you get there.
So good. And I 100% believe in that as well. I started as a part-time, temporary marketing specialist. I had years of experience, but that's how I started in healthcare marketing. And within a year, I was the director of marketing. And then I made my way to vice president at a Fortune 40 company. I had a team of 100. And it's putting yourself out there a little bit and having the guts and the bravery to stand up for what you want. And I have also left organizations that were not a good fit, that were sucking the life out of me. And that is a scary transition as well. But I feel like your wisdom is really relevant, and we don't have to stay stuck in a life we hate.
I know we're trying to wrap this up, but you said another thing. You keep giving me all these ideas that I want to talk about. You talked about sometimes you do have to leave, right? And you find something new. If you don't have an external network, you're in big trouble. If only people know you in your organization, that's great. That's great until it's not. And then I need to go and I need to find something new. Or my organization, hey, maybe they're having layoffs or maybe they're closing their doors. I don't know. Again, if that happens to you and only people in your company know you, you will not have an easy time finding a job, especially depending on what your level is. So the ability to build an external network is super important. So again, you don't have to be actively job hopping or finding a job, but thinking about if I needed to make a change, do I have an external network of people who are going to say, gosh, Sally's great. You should hire her. I'll make a reference. I'll make a referral. I'll help you find a job. If you don't have any of that, your job search is going to be incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And you need that tribe to shore you up in
Yeah.
this job search
Yeah.
environment. It's rough
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
not simple, and you don't have to be all by yourself.
Build that network before you need it.
I love it. Alan, thank you for being here with us today. I'm grateful for your wisdom and your nuggets, and thank you, listeners, for being here for another episode of the Leadership Cafe podcast. If you like what you heard, share it with somebody. Helps us help more people. And you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Listen to more things or leave a review. We'd love it. And if you'd like a community that is here for you for free, it's all marketing, professionals, leaders, comms folks, rural health, nonprofit. Lots of folks online. The leadershipcafe.com is for you. We have monthly trainings. We've got libraries of information and a community where you can be safe and ask questions and begin to build that network. So thanks for being with us. Cheers for being here. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan. It was a lot of fun.